There's a lot of fears that a woman can have, but I think one of the worst ones is this fear of being alone. So, hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Keisha Rice. I am a dating coach and hypnotherapist. I help women learn how to heal from their unhealthy relationship patterns and to attract healthy, loving relationships. So, back to this fear of being alone. The reason why I think it is such a scary fear to have is because it is so pervasive, right? So if you're afraid of spiders or snakes, you can find ways to largely avoid those for most of your life. If you have this fear of being alone, on the other hand, it is going to be incredibly hard to avoid never getting a wedding invitation, right? Or seeing posts on social media about friends and family members getting engaged, or if you're not on social media, hearing about it from other family members or friends. And, the other thing about it is that people support this fear. So we live in a society that tries to make women base their worth off whether or not they are desirable to men, on whether or not they are in a relationship. And you see this play out all the time with women who end up settling for way less than they deserve, and sometimes end up settling for just completely unhealthy relationships. They will be with someone who they're working all the time while this man is on the couch playing video games, or he is constantly rude, or he just in general does not treat her well. And then when you try to point out to her that she's in a terrible situation and that she could do better, she'll say, well, at least I have a man. Especially if the person who is pointing it out is single and happy, then she has to hit with that, at least I have a man line, right? And, because of our conditioning, it is completely natural as a woman to desire to have the house, the husband, the 2.5 kids. And if you don't desire those things, then all the more power to you. I'm talking to the women who do. But, if you do desire those things and you don't have them, then it can be hard to express this fear that you have of ending up alone because people will see it as you're having doubts. And as a woman of faith, you're not supposed to have those doubts, right? So I want to normalize this for you. If you have fears of being alone, you're not broken, you're not faithless, and you're not alone in that fear. Okay. So just know that this is completely normal and natural. Now, we're going to talk about how you overcome those, but just know that this is a normal fear to have. And you don't have to let that fear control you. You know, just because you have this fear doesn't mean it has to take over your life. That's why the Bible says that God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and love and of a sound mind. I think people take that verse and interpret it to mean that you're never supposed to have fear whatsoever. But whenever I hear it, I think that it's not that we're never going to have these fears. It's just that it's not what God wants us to dwell in, to allow to take over our lives. It's one thing to acknowledge a fear, it's another thing to allow it to completely run your decision making and dysregulate your nervous system, right? So, even though fear can whisper all sorts of lies to you, you don't have to agree with them. You don't have to accept those as being true. So, we're going to talk about 3 ways to shift your mindset when you see these fears start to creep in. And the first thing you should do is acknowledge it. So, like the verse in Second Timothy, God hasn't given us this spirit. Acknowledge that you have fear and acknowledge that this is not God's best for you and what he wants for you. So say, yeah, I am struggling with this right now. Because being able to admit that to yourself, being able to take that to God, is already just going to take a huge weight off of your shoulders. And it's going to free up some of the mental capacity to now do something to get rid of this fear. So after you do that, counter this fear with the truth. You know, remind yourself that just because something hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it won't happen. It just means you're delayed, but that doesn't mean that you're denied. And also remind yourself that you are not alone. Whatever love that you do already have in your life right now, remind yourself of that. So you can start with the love of God, you can start with the love that you have for yourself, and then move into all the other loves you have, whether that is family members or whether it's friends. If you are doing well in your career and people show their appreciation for that, acknowledge those things and remind yourself that you do already have this love and that you are not alone. Remind yourself of what communities you are already in. And just know that it's a matter of adding on and increasing to, again, the circle that you already have, not you trying to go out and get something that you don't have, period. And then after that, focus on what it is that you can build now. So, this is something that in my Toxic to Thriving coaching program, I'm always working with women on is yes, we are working on dating strategy and going out there and meeting new people and all of that and, finding the right partner. But as you are doing this, I want you to think about the woman that you are trying to become holistically, not just a matter of finding a partner. And this woman who has the life that you want to live, what does her health and fitness look like? What does her financial situation look like? What are her goals? What goals has she accomplished? And while you are out here looking for the right partner, so I was going to say wait on the right partner. And I don't want you to think of wait as passively. Like, as you are waiting, you should be putting yourself out there to meet new men. You should be working on your communication skills and all of that. You should be preparing to meet your future husband. But while you're doing the things to meet him, while you're joining groups, going on online dating apps, going outside more, while you're doing those things, build up the rest of that life as well, the rest of the dream life that you have, because a lot of these things you also have more control over. You have more control over, getting healthy and getting in shape. You have more control over your finances and your career, whether that is trying to find a better job or trying to get a promotion or leaving corporate and starting your own business. You can be putting effort towards those things, going back to school. You have control over improving your mental health, seeing a therapist, seeing a coach, meditating, journaling, doing all of that shadow work. Um, Again, I'm certified in hypnotherapy. Hypnosis has done so much for me to help me rewire the way that I think and to help me feel more confident going after my goals. So while you are waiting for this piece to fall in place, because it will, I don't believe that God is a tease. I don't think he puts desires in our heart for no reason. But having that confidence in that, in knowing that that piece is going to fall into place, having that confidence that you are being intentional about putting yourself out there and creating the environment for it to fall into place. What are the other things in your life that you can also be working on and building up in the meantime? Because, I always think about that saying, when it rains, it pours. And people think of that in a negative way, that, once one bad thing happens, all these other bad things start happening in succession. But the inverse is true as well, right? So good things start happening in your life and more good comes. So why not stack the odds in your favor and create more and more wins as you are allowing, the right partner to come into your life as well. So I want you to remember that some delays are protection, whether that is protection from you ending up with someone who doesn't have your best interest at heart, or whether that is protecting you, giving you time to build up your life and to work on your communication skills to again heal from past wounds so that you don't bleed all over somebody who truly wants to be there for you, and allowing yourself to do the worthiness work on yourself so that when this person comes, you know that you deserve to be in a happy and healthy relationship. You won't have these fears about someone finding you unworthy. You won't have these fears about, oh, if they knew the real me, they would leave. You would be able to step into that relationship confidently. So understand that this is a matter of God preparing you for something greater behind the scenes. And also, sometimes God preparing you for the things that you at this moment don't know what to ask for. Because you may have this idea of what a great partner looks like now, but as you're building yourself and as you're becoming that dream woman, you may realize that she needs something a little bit different than what you originally thought. So understand that this delay is protecting you in all sorts of ways and lean into that. So the fear of ending up alone is a very, very real fear, but it's not the final word of your life. And I want you to know that you are loved, you are seen, you are chosen, and your story's unfolding in ways that you couldn't possibly imagine yet. So if you would like help with creating that environment to attract the right partner, I would love to be a part of that journey with you. And you can click on the link in the description to find out more about working with me one-on-one. But also, in the meantime, make sure that you stick around. My next video is about church and some of the ways in which it can keep women single and what to do about that. And also, YouTube thinks that you should watch the video that is going to be, I believe, on this side of the screen. So make sure you check that out as well. Bye.